What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It and Break It. My name's Andrew, and today we're working on our Project HyperTenere, but we're getting some different stuff done today. First, I have a surprise. One, my hair's cut. Mom, you're welcome. Everyone else who thought my hair looked fine, give it a few months, it'll come back. It's hair. I think most part, except for this stuff's probably not coming back. Anyway, second, the Chrysler's gone. So much room for activities out here now. Let's not be weird about it, but Chrysler's gone. It was an experience trying to get it out of here. It's been in here for months, and no one would take it. It was ridiculous trying to get this car that was worth money out of here, but no one wanted to take it because apparently paperwork is hard in Washington, or no one tried. I don't know. Anyway, car's gone. It means we have much more room for activities. And it means we can get to work proper on our Project HyperTenere, get that thing in a nice settled place where we can go use it, and then bring in our, Doritos Locos and other fun project cars. So, let me get the Yamaha rolled out here, and I'll go through kind of what we're working on today. And it's hand controls. Alright, so we now have We now have room to work around our Project HyperTenere here, which means we can start doing some real stuff. First though, I kind of want to get to doing something that will really go a long way to making this bike comfortable to ride on. And you can see me messing with stuff around the hand controls here because we're going to throw on an adapter piece here today that lets us install handlebars instead of just clip-ons. So if you're going to make this change on your bike, first thing you want to do is get the front up on a stand. Now this stand is different from the stand we used previously when we were messing with our suspension settings. This is... That was a terrible sound. This is a lift, a front lift stand, a head lift stand, a pin stand. It actually goes in and lifts underneath on the bottom of the triple tree. And it does that because we want the weight off of the front forks. Otherwise, when we go remove the top triple clamp, which is how we adapt for handlebars, these front forks will just splay out and you'll have a really hard time actually putting everything back together. Hello, Joe. Hi. Want to get in the video? You haven't been in a while. I think you were just scared of the car that was stuck in here the entire time. Look, we're free. We're free. Yeah. I also, you might notice, have pulled this off. This specific kit does require some changes to your windscreen in order to allow full range of motion. Yeah, Joe. Yeah. But we probably won't need this anyway. One, because we're going to be sitting up a lot more, and this really won't help us out at all. And two, because it'll get in the way. But we'll come up with something else at some point. So, once you have it up on here, oh yeah, you just want all the attention, I know. Once you have it up on your stand, you're gonna wanna start removing all of your controls. Now, for this kit, and really if you're gonna extend most sport bikes really aren't designed for a lot of suspension travel, which means that they aren't really designed to have the brakes go too much farther from the handlebars than the original design. So if you're lifting them, yes, just wants all the attention here. So if you're lifting your handlebars, you're gonna need longer brake lines. So this kit actually comes with some stainless steel braided brake lines that are really good. That means we have to pull our old brakes. So we're gonna pull our old brake lines, one on this side and one on this side, and drain our brakes, and then we'll get to moving the hand grips around. Don't forget gloves, by the way. This is brake fluid, and it's already dripping. No! God, that smells so bad. Maybe also don't forget to loosen up your brake lines from their mounts. Oh. There we go. Alright, so we have our brake lines off. They are different lengths, I do believe. Yes, slightly different lengths. And I also took off the front of our bike. Was that absolutely required? No. I probably wanted to do that anyway, just because I think a lot of that's gonna have to change, but it made it a lot easier to get in here and get some of these bolts that you need to remove in order to get the brakes off, or the brake lines off. So that's nice, and it's really only a couple of bolts and one electrical connector to get the whole front end assembly off. So that's not too bad. If you want to do that, it gives you a lot more room to work on the bike. Now, it's time to start working on hand controls. So there's no real order to this. You gotta pull off the brake, you gotta pull off all your levers. That'd be your brake lever, your clutch lever. You have to pull off your grips and everything here. One thing to note about your left hand grip, your right hand grip spins, right? That's your throttle. Your left hand grip is usually glued to the handlebar. So if you want to save the grip, then you need to either get rid of the glue on the inside, use some air to like try and separate the grip, or you can cut the grip off and just get some new grips. Either way, I think we're gonna try and save this one for now, and we'll see if that changes. So next is just pulling all of your controls. I'm gonna throw this out there, guys. It helps to loosen screws when you wanna disassemble things. Right now, we're actually just gonna pull this one. So this is pretty easy. There's a pin up here on the front left, and then there's one pinch bolt over here that mounts the clip-on to the upper part of our fork. All right, so one bolt, pinch bolt, and one mounting bolt, and it should just slide right up and out. That'll let you do what you need to do to pull the rest of your controls. Like that. So these are disassembled. The other thing we're going to want to remove is we're going to remove our master cylinder here, or our reservoir, but we'll save that for as late as possible because then we don't have to worry about stuff spilling all over the place. All right, so for this side, you're going to want to get this grip loose, which if you can get an air supply, and the grip eventually does come off. You do have to work it around. This one I had to work around a lot to get out. That might have been just because it's original and basically welded on there. But now you can pull off the rest of your controls. Okay, so we're now here looking at the top of our triple tree here. We're gonna pop this piece off real quick, I think. Let this kind of hang right here for a bit. You want to make sure with your reservoir and all your brake fluid that you're not letting it drip on anything that you like the paint of. Since I don't really have any paint on anything that's below this, I didn't really care. But do watch out for paint if you're doing that. Just move that back there so that we know where it is. Now, at this point, I suggest popping this loose before you pop these loose. So you have your main bolt here for installing the top of your triple tree, your top triple clamp, and then you have two pinch bolts on the side that hold the forks in place. So when we go remove these pinch bolts, that is when, if we didn't have the pin stand on under here, that's when these forks would just kind of go whoop, and you'd never get this back on. So what we're gonna do is pop this loose first while everything's still relatively tight. You'll go up here, bring it up against the stop, and you should be able to just pop it loose real quick. And that should, once you pop it loose, it should rotate on its own. If it doesn't, you might have something wrong. But just like any other assembly or mechanical item, it should basically rotate free once there's no torque applied. Then we go, where's my other stuff here? We take our pinch bolts over here. These should not have to go very far to be loose. You should basically just be able to take the torque off of them. And this would move. So that's what you should be able to do here. And then, give them a little space. Just give yourself some room to wiggle off. You may or may not have to use a hammer or a mallet to get these things off. Spin this back straight just for sanity's sake. Pull your nut. There's a washer. You'll want to keep this as well, probably. So we'll keep that. And then this, we should just be able to slowly bring off here. There we go, and you have your triple tree off. Now, if you're gonna keep your ignition, let's say you're not making this some sort of race upper triple tree clamp thing, and you're gonna keep your ignition, well, you're going to need to get the ignition off. So, cut myself. So the bottom here, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit on these. Yeah, so if you can see right here, is the, let's get that look. Yes, so right there is a bolt. Now this is not a typical bolt that you would normally see. Well, not in any sort of situation where you're expected to be able to disassemble the piece. And that's because this is actually an anti-theft measure. So it's the head on this bolt is designed to break off under a certain amount of torque so that you can't easily disassemble the ignition from the bike and steal the bike. This is not really a useful anti-theft tool. Most people who are going to steal a bike are either going to jam something in the ignition here to get it started, or if they're not going to start it, they want to keep the ignition reasonably intact, they'll just get a couple buddies and lift the bike themselves up onto a truck. So this is not really something that we're going to replace with bolt heads that are gonna break again like this. We're gonna replace these with regular everyday bolts off of our new kit. So, but to get these off, you're gonna have to drill and extract these bolt heads. So that's what we're gonna do next. So we got everything off. You can see we got this off finally. That was an experience. So you saw me doing an extractor. That was on this bolt. I actually had to cut the extractor off the end here. And then this one, this was just stupid. So I had my drill slip, and so it started going off center, And then I just started using bigger and bigger drills and trying to drill in, and eventually we just twisted the head off, and then we could pop the ignition off. So now we're actually to the get all of our new crap and assemble it stage. So let's go grab that real quick. All right, so I might have lied just a little bit there, because we don't install the new parts till we reroute the old parts. So for this kit, we're using an ABM Spiegler LSL combination kit. And in order to get this installed, they actually give you directions, and you need to reroute your choke and throttle cables. At least you have to do this for my bike. Now this might change based on what bike you're using, but for me, I have to get under the tank, remove my air box, and reroute my choke and throttle cables per this diagram they give you. It's in German, but it's choke and throttle. So this is to allow for a little bit more space in the line so they don't bind up and cause you to leave your choke open when you don't want to, or stick your throttle open. So we'll get that done here. A couple things here. Once you have your intake off, that's your air box and that whole track, you will have your runners for your engine open. And you don't want to leave those open because stuff can fall in and that can really mess up your engine. So, if you remember what we did when we were pulling the motor out of our Project Ute, we actually taped over the intake manifold area. In this case, we're not going to do that because that'll kind of interfere with the way this seals. So we're going to take some shop rags and plug them in, just force them down into the intake runners a little bit here, so we don't actually drop something into our engine. So I'm gonna put a few of these in here, and that'll save us from having to pull out the visual inspection equipment to go retrieve a bolt that we didn't pay attention to. Oh, well, that was an experience, but we managed to get this setup working. Really what we need to do is we need to go disconnect at our throttle and then reroute our cables up and around. So we've got our new cables rerouted. The change was we took our throttle cables, they were routed around the front of the front fork here and then down around the frame on the front. And we've changed them to routing them through these frame holes that are made for all this cable routing, and then behind the frame fork, so that we can actually, you know, get things there. So now we're gonna go in and reassemble all this stuff we took out for this portion. Make sure when you do this that you tighten up your throttle and your, I didn't have to mess with the clutch cable because that one I could, not clutch. I didn't have to mess with the choke cable because that one I could move just by moving the handle around. But now you want to go back and put everything back together, and then you can start putting on your new parts. All right, well that was hard. I had to redo the throttle cabling twice. It kept coming out of one or the other pieces of throttle, and that was frustrating. My hands are too big to be working on this bike, but we're gonna do it anyway for the memes and the lulz or something. Anyway, now we're to the point where we get to start installing new parts. Now I've got a couple of them on here, and I'll show you the rest of the parts that come with the kit. So we're using the ABM LSL Spiegler kit for the Yamaha R6 99 through whatever. They're pretty much the only kit out there. You can find it in a couple places. I bought it from Sportbike Track Gear. There's probably a link down below to the item if you guys are interested in it specifically, but there's a lot of similar kits out there. It's just this bike's old enough and not as popular for Street Fighter style modifications that there's really only one kit out there for it. So this kit comes with several new parts that you have to install. A couple of them are shown right here. So this is the top triple clamp here. It's an updated version, so it's fairly similar to the triple clamp we removed, except, well, it doesn't have anything for installing clip-ons right here. Instead, it has kind of your bar adapters here. And these are pretty cool. So this top triple clamp is made by ABM, which is a German company of some sort. In fact, most of this kit is German. In fact, that's why the directions are in German, which has made it interesting. And I've had to go back a few times because I missed something or another on installation instruction. This is an ABM unit, and that's the top triple tree. That's what every triple tree. And the top triple tree is what every other part of the motorcycle modifications we're doing here kind of builds off of. This handlebar is an LSL unit. I have no idea what that stands for, but it's an LSL handlebar. Comes with the kit. It's spec'd to work with your hand controls, so we'll validate that here. I haven't test fitted anything on it yet because that's about the phase where we're at. And the kit comes with a bunch of other additions. So I mentioned previously that we're gonna have to, why are you stuck? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Hey. We have to upgrade our brake lines to slightly longer brake lines. These are stainless steel Spiegler units that come with the kit. They are extended brake lines. They're also stainless steel braided with a nice little covering on the outside, which will make them much more durable for taking off-road, because these front brake lines are much less protected than our rear brake lines are, and they could take a few scratches and hits from things as we go by. Also, with this kit are a couple of other things. It comes with a new clutch line that I have to install here, and this new clutch line essentially is just an extended clutch line because everything's moving so very far that we have to, get a much longer clutch line. So that's what that is. It also comes with a couple other pieces. So this is an extension kit for your horn. Huppenkabelverlängerung. I don't think we need this, but I have disconnected my horn right now, and I'll reconnect it once we have everything in place. This bar is in my face, that's really weird. I'll reconnect it once we have everything in place and check the movements and see if everything works without this or not. And the kit also comes with a halter for hydraulic Berhalter. Halter for, my German's rough, guys, hold on. Halter for hydraulic Berhalter, I think. The A with the umlauts always got me in German class. I don't know why, it seems like it's very simple. It's a mount for our master cylinder. That's what hydraulic master cylinder mount. So I think it's gonna mount somewhere off of, I have no idea where it's gonna mount, but we'll figure it out. But those are the new pieces. So the first thing you wanna do here is you do wanna get anything installed that needs to get installed. So we're gonna install our clutch line, and then we're going to loosely assemble everything onto our handlebars and loosely assemble these handlebars in here. So I'll go get the nut and everything and loosely put that in there. And then what we'll be able to do then is check our range of motion and make sure everything fits before we go start gluing grips and stuff on and making permanent modifications to our handlebars, because that's the point of no return. So before we get off to that Phantom of the Opera moment, let's go get all the rest of our pieces on that we need to install. And ta-da, we're here. So that was a struggle. You saw me messing with a bunch of different things, and I'll explain what I was doing. When you're setting this up, you want to make everything, put it together relatively loosely, and run it from stop to stop. And so you do this to make sure that your controls aren't going to bind. When you're at full right lock, and full left lock. You're not putting too much stress on anything in particular. I think we might move this handlebar in a little bit more. So the idea here is that you're not gonna your throttle response isn't gonna start sticking if you're at right lock, right? So you can see, I've done a bunch of movement around, so it's worth rechecking everything. So this throttle is not coming back, it's not snapping back as quickly as I would like. There. So that's better. So that's about where we'd like it there. If we go full lock to the right, we want a relatively similar response. You can see, there we go. You can see if we go like this, we want it to snap back. You want to hear that audible snap. Now there could be some misalignments in here, and that's just caused by our fit up, but it looks like we're getting a pretty decent snap there. And that is something we'll be able to adjust, and I'll talk about why that's in a second. We're also checking our left side here, making sure everything seemed to be operating correctly, and that our clutch was working. This extended clutch cable was probably not necessary, to be honest, because we are not in any danger of having a short clutch cable here. But it's installed, so we'll just use it, and that really just means that we won't have to mess with it if we go with an even larger handlebar in the future, which is one of the options on this kit, and that's kind of one of the well, this kit doesn't have that option, but it's one of the options once you go to a handlebar kit, is you can get bigger, taller handlebars or bigger, taller risers pretty easily. They're all around now. So we were checking left and right, making sure we get a good snap back on our throttle like that. You can hear that audible sound. We were doing that, and then just kind of grooming all these connections. It does turn out that we do need to use our headlight extension, so we'll get that at some point here. Maybe not in this video, because it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the final finished product. At this point, we have everything mocked up and we like where we're at. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to fully install most of these parts. Now, there's one thing to consider here, and that is your hand controls actually have a little locating dowel pin on them. And normally what you'd want to do is you would want to install those with a hole drilled into your handlebar at the point where you want them, so that the orientation is good on your bike. I am not going to do that here. On a street bike, that makes a ton of sense. It keeps everything kind of firm. On a race bike or a bike that might see maybe a harder crash or two, grinding off that dowel actually, in my opinion, will make the bike just a little bit better off-road, because if we hit hard enough that that we're worried about our controls shifting, having them shift is probably going to save all of them, as opposed to if they don't shift and then it rotates or cracks the housing or does something else and makes the controls completely unusable. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go in and file off those dowels. So we're going to get that done, get everything fully reseated here, including our new brake lines, and then we'll come back and show you the final product. Well, would you take a look at that? We have handlebars on, and that's a pretty comfortable position, if I do say so myself. They're not super high, so we can still get into a sporty riding position. But it looks like that when we stand, we're gonna have at least a little bit better of an opportunity to control our bikes a little bit. We'll just get a little bit more leverage and everything off-road, so this will help us a lot. Also help us hoon around and do whatever else we want to do with the bike. Looks like everything's installed pretty well. I've got everything pretty much torqued down and in place. We did have one mishap. The thing to keep in mind when you're doing this sort of thing is brake lines are sometimes pretty brittle. I actually snapped the right side brake line banjo fitting trying to torque it. So I don't know if that's because my torque wrench is off and trying to torque things too much, or if it's because of the way I had them installed. But either way, looks like I'm gonna have to get a new brake line, which is not awesome. We still haven't yet hooked up our headlights, but all of our controls or everything are pretty much in place, and that sets us up pretty well for moving on to our next set of projects for this thing. We'll leave off the front of the bike because the access will be better for that. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. My name's Andrew. This is another Make It Break It YouTube video. If you like this video, hit like. If you like this video, hit like. Comment down below if you have questions about any part of the process I maybe didn't show very well, or you just want to tell me I did something wrong. That happens too, occasionally. Don't tell the girlfriend. Hit me up in the comment section down below. If you like what we're doing in this channel, we do motorsports based builds, race cars, adventure bikes, other things like that, and we try to bring in some technology, 3D printing, CAD work, and other stuff to show you what you can get accomplished in your own home garage. So if that stuff sounds interesting, check out the rest of the videos on our channel, hit subscribe, ding that bell icon so you get notified when we put out a new video. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, my name's Andrew, and I'll catch you later.